Hello and welcome to Decoding Diabetes, Tips for Prevention and Management. My name is Erica and I will be giving the seminar today. Diabetes and prediabetes are very prevalent in our country. The majority of people know at least one person that has diabetes or prediabetes. Many adults may have prediabetes and not even realize. A 2017 study was released stating 84 million Americans, more than 1 in 3, has prediabetes, but only 10% actually know of it. Even though there are many people affected by diabetes, there are still many misconceptions and misinformation surrounding this condition. Today, our goal is to help decode diabetes and share tips to prevent and manage it. So our focus today is on type 2 diabetes, which can be prevented in many cases with lifestyle changes, as well as managing lifestyle choices. Before diving in, let's cover the other types of diabetes briefly. Prediabetes is the condition that can develop into type 2 diabetes. In prediabetes, your blood sugar is elevated above normal, but hasn't yet reached the level to be classified as diabetes. While no one wants to hear that they have prediabetes, it can be a great time to make changes in one's life that can prevent or significantly delay the onset of diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease, typically diagnosed earlier in life than type 2 diabetes. As far as we know right now, lifestyle habits don't affect or prevent type 1 diabetes. People diagnosed with type 1 diabetes must use the hormone insulin to manage the condition, as they do not make it within their own body. Gestational diabetes is a condition that can develop in pregnant women, also characterized by elevated blood sugar. It needs to be treated to reduce the risk of complications for the mother and the baby, and it can be prevented and managed in similar ways to type 2 diabetes. Women who do develop gestational diabetes are at higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes later in life. So to understand diabetes, it is helpful to review what happens when someone without diabetes eats and digests food. So in someone without diabetes, this is the normal process when you eat carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are a main macronutrient which would be found in almost every meal and snack. All carbs, when digested, are broken down into monosaccharide called glucose, which is also known as sugar in layman's terms. The sugar is absorbed into our body's bloodstream, elevating the blood level of sugar. An organ within the body called the pancreas recognizes that the blood sugar has risen, so it releases the hormone insulin into the blood. Insulin circulates around the body and binds to the muscle and fat cells to create a portal so that sugar can enter. Our cells then use the sugar as energy to power all of our body and our mind. Any sugar that is not taken up by the cells is stored in fat cells or in the liver. In type 2 diabetes, most commonly the pancreas may not make enough insulin, and or the insulin the pancreas does make cannot effectively bind to the muscle and fat tissue, which means that sugar has no way of leaving the bloodstream. So the role of insulin. Another way to think of this is insulin acts as a key that unlocks the door to the cell so that sugar can enter. In type 2 diabetes, the body either does not produce enough insulin or the cells do not respond effectively to insulin, meaning that insulin isn't able to open up the door to the cells like it's supposed to. On the left side is the cell of a person with diabetes. There is not enough keys or insulin to unlock all the cells so that the sugar can enter, or the cell does not respond to the key as it's supposed to. On the right is the cell of a person without diabetes. Insulin is able to unlock the cells so that sugar can enter. This lowers the blood sugar level and also gives cells energy to function. Let's review some type 2 diabetes facts. Type 2 diabetes accounts for 90 to 95% of all cases of diabetes. It is influenced by lifestyle and can be prevented and managed through lifestyle changes. As we mentioned, it involves insulin resistance or deficiency. Cells are not responding to insulin being produced, or not enough insulin is being produced. The average age of diagnosis is generally 45 or older. Type 2 diabetes used to be known as adult onset diabetes. However, excess body weight is a risk factor, and since more youth and young adults have obesity than in the past, type 2 diabetes can now be found at any age. These numbers show how widespread diabetes is. 30 million Americans have diabetes as of 2017. This is up from 26 million in 2010. Nearly 1 in 4 people with diabetes don't know that they have it, and 84 million adults, more than 1 in 3 in the U.S., have prediabetes. It is important to note the middle bullet. Type 2 diabetes can go undiagnosed and untreated for years because the short-term symptoms can be absent, mild, or easy to ignore. The map on the screen shows diagnosed diabetes percentages in the United States in 2005 in comparison to 2011. So, the state highest is Mississippi with 11.3. Alabama is number 2 with 11.1. And West Virginia is at 10.7%. The state with the lowest is Colorado with 6%. The map we just saw only shows people diagnosed with diabetes. There are many more, like I said earlier, 84 million Americans estimated to have prediabetes, or the condition preceding type 2 diabetes, in which the body has become less able to control its blood sugar levels, but not quite to the degree of diabetes. It is important to be screened by a doctor for prediabetes. Your primary care doctor may perform a blood test or offer a simple screening tool, such as the one on the screen from the American Diabetes Association. This will help to determine your risk for prediabetes or diabetes. Type 2 diabetes symptoms may develop slowly and appear as extremely mild. In fact, you can have type 2 diabetes for years and not even know it. That's why it's important to see your healthcare provider regularly so that you can monitor your diabetes risk and get screened. Common symptoms of type 2 diabetes can be found in black on this diagram. Polydipsia is feeling thirsty. It also could be a sign of increased hunger, polyphagia, and then you may also potentially have blurred vision with untreated type 2 diabetes. You also may urinate more frequently. So all of these things can be potential symptoms. Again, feeling thirsty, increased hunger, blurred vision, and the urge to urinate more. Other common symptoms are feeling fatigued, having dry or itchy skin, or sometimes darkening of the skin. Consistently high blood sugar in both type 1 and type 2 diabetes can lead to unexplained weight loss as well. The short-term symptoms of type 2 diabetes may be so mild that they go unnoticed for years. Without noticing or taking action on these symptoms, the person may not seek medical care, which may cause their blood sugar levels to be consistently high for years or even decades. There are long-term complications that can arise from untreated diabetes and high blood sugar. Many of these serious complications associated with diabetes, listed above, can be avoided with the proper treatment. Neuropathy means damage to your nerves, which can cause a tingling sensation, pain, or even loss of feeling in different body parts. This affects 30 to 50% of people with diabetes. Diabetic retinopathy refers to the damage of disease caused in the eyes. Over time, if blood sugar isn't controlled, diabetes can lead to vision impairment or blindness. According to the National Eye Institute, the number of cases of diabetic retinopathy is expected to nearly double over the next 40 years from 7.7 to 14.6 million. Diabetes is incredibly rough on the kidneys as well, and in 2002 accounted for 44%, which is nearly half of new cases of end-stage renal disease. Currently, over 1/3 of adults in the U.S. diagnosed as having diabetes also have some form of renal disease as well. The normal healing process that occurs when you get wounded, or any type of wound, is definitely slowed if you have diabetes as well. Combined with the loss of sensation that we talked about from nerve damage, some injuries can go unnoticed long enough that they become infected. And the only solution at this point is sometimes to amputate. This most commonly happens on feet or legs. In 2014 alone, 108,000 lower extremity amputations were performed on those with diabetes. Heart disease and stroke are both much more likely with diabetes as well. Those with diabetes are 2 to 4 times more at risk for having a stroke and dying from heart disease. So, being diagnosed with diabetes is done through blood testing. The most common test is fasting blood glucose test. This looks at your blood sugar level after not having eaten for at least 8 hours. Since fasting blood sugar looks at only one snapshot in time, blood sugar from one specific day, your healthcare provider may also use a test that reveals average blood sugar over a longer period of time. This test is commonly called the A1C test. So, hemoglobin A1C shows what your blood sugar level has been on average over the past 3 months. This gives a better picture of your true blood sugar trends. When you have diabetes, this is the test that your healthcare provider will use to determine how well controlled your blood sugar levels are. They can use this information to develop a plan of care that is best for you. We talked about what type 2 diabetes is and how it is diagnosed, but how do you know if you're at risk for the condition? What factors does your healthcare provider take into account when determining your risk? Type 2 diabetes has modifiable risk factors and non-modifiable risk factors. Modifiable risk factors are things that can be impacted or changed with medical care or with lifestyle factors. These are listed on the left of this slide. There are also some risk factors that you cannot change. The non-modifiable, are actually listed on the right. After learning about what diabetes is and how it develops, it is important to emphasize that it can be prevented or managed. If you've already been diagnosed, you can also make lifestyle changes to improve the conditions. Managing your weight, eating nutritiously, being physically active, and having regular appointments with your healthcare provider can make a huge difference in terms of your diabetes risk, and if you've been diagnosed, how well managed your blood sugar and other symptoms are. We'll talk about each one in the next few slides, and it is important to know that doing well in all categories will do the most to prevent and manage diabetes, but that if big changes seem overwhelming, it's okay to make small, gradual changes to your day-to-day life. Over time, these little healthy changes will add up, and you might find that besides having better blood sugar tests, you will just feel better overall as well. Before we move on to lifestyle tips, whether you're trying to prevent diabetes or trying to manage your diagnosis, the main focus of making lifestyle changes is blood sugar control. That is the long-term goal for your healthcare provider, and it means that your personalized plan of care, whether it be oral diabetes medications, diet, exercise, etc., is working. Keeping blood sugar levels under control and within the limits recommended by your healthcare provider is extremely important for preventing short and long-term complications. This will help you to maintain quality of life as well. If your blood sugar is not under control, that is a sign that diabetes management routine you've been following may not be working for you or may no longer be right for you, and it may be time to visit your healthcare provider to check in. On that note, the first key piece of preventing and managing diabetes is getting regular checkups and screenings with your healthcare provider. This can help you to understand your risk and monitor your health. Your healthcare provider will be able to assess your health status and understand if and how it changes over time. And you'll be able to get a better picture of your overall health and where you stand in terms of disease risk. Routine checkups are important regardless of if you're at risk for diabetes or not. If you have diabetes, checkups are important for making sure your diabetes management routine is still working for you. The body can change over time, and it is possible that your same routine won't work effectively forever. Your doctor may prescribe diabetes medication or insulin or lower blood sugar, or they may recommend changes in your exercise routine, eating habits, and body weight. The American Diabetes Association recommends a yearly screening for diabetes if you have any risk factors that we mentioned earlier. If not, they recommend getting screened every 3 years, and that would be after the age of 45. So every 3 years after the age of 45. Many people have diabetes or prediabetes and don't even know it, and catching it early enough can make a huge difference in your long-term health. Another key piece to blood sugar management is weight management. Weight is more than just a number. Extra fat affects how your body functions on a daily basis. Your healthcare provider can help you to determine what a healthy weight is for you and how to achieve it in a healthy, sustainable manner. If it's recommended that you consider weight loss, what is a healthy weight loss for prevention? Even small decreases in weight can make a very big difference. Losing 5 to 7% of body weight, which is about 10 pounds for someone who weighs 200 pounds, decreases the risk of developing diabetes by 58%. Gradual weight loss, no more than 2.5 pounds per week, is recommended, and weight loss should be achieved through a balance of diet and exercise. Try not to pay attention to fad diets that tell you can never eat certain things. Almost anything in moderation is okay, and next we will talk about healthy choices you can start to make right now at each meal. Make sure you meet with a registered dietitian or a certified diabetes educator to help you tailor your individual diet. You can take good care of yourself and your diabetes by learning what to eat, how much to eat, and when to eat. Making wise food choices can help you to feel good every day, help you to lose some weight if needed, and also help you to lower your risk for heart disease, stroke, and other problems that can potentially be caused by diabetes. Now, let's talk about some of the foods that can make a difference in our blood sugar control. The first group we'll discuss is starches, which are a type of carbohydrate that is broken down into simple sugars by the body. Starchy vegetables such as peas, corn, and potatoes, dried beans, pinto beans, kidney beans, lentils, and legumes, grains such as oats, barley, and rice, grain products made from wheat flour such as pasta, bread, and crackers. These are all some of the starches that we're going to talk about. Remember to try to make at least half of the grains you eat come from whole grains. Whole grains are broken down into simple sugars slower than refined grains, since they typically contain more fiber and protein, which takes the body longer to digest. This helps to keep your blood sugar more stable over time. So remember to incorporate whole grains. Sugar is another type of carbohydrate, but what type of sugar you consume is actually what's more important. Natural sugars, despite what the food market might actually lead you to believe, there are only two forms of natural sugars: the kind found in milk, which is lactose, and the kind found in fruit, which is fructose. These types of sugars are also purely carbohydrates, but from a nutritionist standpoint, the food sources in which they are found have a lot more to offer. Milk and fruit provide other important nutrients like protein, vitamin D, calcium, vitamin A, vitamin C, fiber, but you'll be hard-pressed to find any of these nutrients in candy, cookies, or soft drinks. Food with natural sugars often cause some fiber and protein as well, both of which can help you to feel fuller longer. When it comes to added sugars, these ingredients are added to foods as they are processed or prepared. When hefty doses of these types of added sugar are eaten, it can lead to weight gain and poorly controlled blood sugar levels. Sugary foods can also be thought of as empty calories because they often provide little in the way of nutrition and may leave you feeling hungry again shortly after you eat them. It is best to save sweets and desserts for special occasions so you don't miss out on the nutritious foods your body needs. When you do decide to indulge in a treat and include it in your meal plan, keep portions small and eat mindfully. It can be hard to find out or to figure out if something has a lot of sugar and if it's natural sugar or added in the processing. Keep in mind that the word natural is not clearly defined by the USDA when used in the marketing, and many companies take advantage of this. So be sure to look a little more closely at products that claim to have natural ingredients. Let's look at a typical nutrition fact label to make more sense of this. You always have to start by looking at what the packaging considers to be a serving, because sometimes the amount that you typically eat is more or less than one serving. Just take however many servings you eat or drink and multiply that number by the amount of sugar listed towards the bottom. So using this label as an example, if you have 3 servings, that would be 2 cups of food and it would have 3 grams of sugar. Now, what can we tell from this label is whether sugar is natural, added, or some of both. Unfortunately, we cannot tell if it is natural, added, or some of both, but you can tell how much sugar. Fiber comes from plants, so there is no fiber in animal products such as meat, milk, or eggs. Good sources of fiber include beans, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and nuts. Fiber benefits are that it contributes to digestive health, helps you feel full and satisfied after eating, helps with keeping correct portion sizes. It can lower cholesterol levels and reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease. And fiber also passes through your digestive system intact, so it is less likely to spike our blood sugar. You can look for fiber on the nutrition label. It's right above where the sugar is. A few this or that's. Based on nutrition tips that we discussed, let's play a quick guessing game to see which option is more nutritious and better for our blood sugar control. For this one, it would definitely be the whole grain bread. For this one, for orange juice versus whole fruit, we would choose whole fruit. For this one, we would obviously choose water over a sugar-sweetened beverage to cut back on the amount of sugar that we are taking in. For these meals, think about which we would choose here. We always want to go for the more colorful meal. This has a full range of nutrients. It has a lot of fruits and vegetables added as well, and that will add fiber to our meal, which is great. When it comes to physical activity is another lifestyle factor that impacts your blood sugar and your risk of diabetes. When you move your muscles, your body uses glucose for energy. This can help to lower our blood sugar levels. As your body uses glucose to move, your blood sugar level can decrease. This isn't the only benefit of physical activity. Others include improved insulin sensitivity. Your body is able to respond to insulin better, meaning that it is more effectively removes glucose from the bloodstream for storage. This keeps blood sugar levels stable. Physical activity can also help with stress relief, improved blood circulation, toned muscles, and it can strengthen our heart, muscles, and our bones. Physical activity doesn't have to be intense activities like running or weightlifting. Things you can do at work, like walking around the building or taking the stairs, also count. Getting active. So, what are the current recommendations for exercise? The Physical Activity Guidelines for Americans recommend the following: 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity aerobic activity per week. Make sure to incorporate strength training activities as well, like weightlifting, yoga, or body weight exercises on 2 or more days of the week. This helps to build muscle, maintain muscle, and this is important for keeping our metabolism stable and preventing muscle decline as we age. 150 minutes of aerobic activity per week might seem intimidating, but depending on your schedule, you can break up the time in multiple ways. If you like a daily routine, fit 20 minutes daily into your weekly schedule. If you want your weekends free, bump up your time exercising to 30 minutes during weekdays only, then take the weekend off or save it for just light activity. If you find yourself tired from work and with little motivation to work out during the week, exercise a little under an hour Friday, Saturday, and Sunday when your schedule is more open for a larger commitment. You don't have to stop here. If you're motivated and physically ready to go beyond 150 minutes per week, you can always add more activity into your routine. This can be especially helpful if you use exercise for stress relief. Remember to give yourself occasional rest days. Your body needs time to repair and recover. Has anyone here incorporated physical activity into your routine? Think about it. Majority of the time, if we do physical activity on a regular basis, we end up feeling less stressed and better overall. Eating healthier, managing your weight, and getting more active are all connected with each other. You might find that you have more energy after eating better for a few weeks, or that exercising makes it easier to lose weight. Most importantly, all three contribute greatly to preventing and managing diabetes. Remember to take small steps. Nobody expects you to change your entire life in a day. Little changes will add up over time and are easier to manage than big, sudden changes. And don't beat yourself up if you stumble along the way. Roadblocks and slip-ups are totally normal. The important thing is to not give up and just to get back on track. How can I do this? Surround yourself with healthy foods. Make sure your fridge is stocked with healthy snacks so that you won't be tempted to grab an unhealthy one. Make a change with a coworker or a friend. Have a support system and a motivator that will help you feel accountable and push yourself not to slack. Reward yourself. For every workout that you do, put $1 in a jar. At the end of the month, you'll have some money to treat yourself to something. Make a garden. Not only is it fun, but it provides you with physical activity and a great, wholesome, and nutritious food. These are just some ideas. How you adopt these healthy pillars into your life is completely up to you. These are all great resources if you are looking to find more information about diabetes and look more into this topic on your own. Defeat Diabetes Foundation is a support group. So if you are struggling with diabetes or if you have prediabetes and could use a community to speak with, definitely reach out to Defeat Diabetes Foundation. WebMD has a support group as well. Before we finish up today, take a few minutes and think of small changes that you can make to adopt a healthier routine. You can choose an idea mentioned below on our slides or one that you've thought of on your own. No goal is too small. You could even set one to look at some of the resources we suggested. That in itself is a great start, and it could potentially give you ideas of where you can go next in your wellness journey. Every time you do a goal and cross it off, add a new goal, but just do one at a time if that's what it takes. Thank you for joining us today. and we hope that you learned a lot in our Decoding Diabetes webinar. Today we've learned what diabetes is, how widespread it is, and how it can impact our lives, our well-being, and our health, and what we can do starting right now to prevent or manage diabetes. Thank you.